Good afternoon, Mr. Bauer. What a beautiful day we have. Thursday, December 14th, the day fantasy football playoffs begin. Thursday night football playoffs. They're here.
Yeah, we're just sneaking this in right now. So, yeah, super exciting time of the year for six of the teams. For the other six, I think we've made it better with how we do the losers competition now. But yeah, should be a fun weekend. Hopefully, there's some chatter going on, and then we'll just we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, congrats to everybody that made it here. It's not an easy league, man. Like I look at the other leagues I'm in, and I make the playoffs more often than I don't. And in this league, I'm on a drought. And I think there's some other players that probably do well in some of the other leagues. But man, the RFFA, it's no joke at all. So
No joke. I mean, just looking at we had a guy finish 8-6. And he didn't even make the playoffs. Guy with
yeah,
usually it's like that 500 record, but it'd be interesting to go see the last time someone won 8 games and didn't make our
they
playoffs.
made the playoffs. Right.
Maybe it's more common than I think, but I feel like it's not. Usually, I feel like it's 7 wins is kind of is obviously there's the extra game now, but I think 7 wins always used to be kind of the magic number. You got above that.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the standings here. So obviously talking about Mr. Kelly, he's the odd one out. He did win his last 3 games in a row. But once Leon got hot and Jenny kept losing, that was a recipe for disaster for anybody trying to get in. Well, from both angles, points and record. They really just kind of cleared house the last couple of weeks and made it almost impossible for anybody else to get in.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think like had any of us just stumbled a couple times. I mean, if Leon or if Mortel loses one more game there, he'd be out of the playoffs despite having a unbelievable roster because Kelly would have passed him on record and Jenny would have.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, unfortunate for Kelly Dog. Good finish to the season, and he'll have that first round pick for who knows how many plays of JJ. And yeah, but good. Not the most exciting finish to the end of the season, just because, like you said, basically all 6 spots were locked up. It was going to take a miracle for Lostness or you to catch Leon in points, while also needed him to lose and Jenny.
Right.
So I mean, a lot needed to happen. So kind of 6 teams that have been in playoff spots for a while now are in. The only thing that really changed was the seeding. I got very fortunate that Poop Johnson had his worst week in a while, so I was able to clinch the 2 seed. And then, a hard fought matchup there between, I think, 1 and 2 in the power rankings.
Yeah.
If Tyreek Hill doesn't get hurt, Mortel probably wins that matchup. Then he's the 3 seed, Hanrahan's the 4, Leon 5, Jenny 6. So then it would have been Jenny Mortel, a couple of Eau Claire snorkelers. Then you had Hanrahan and Leon. So it shook up the bracket a little bit, probably put the top 2 teams in the power rankings on the same side of the bracket. And I honestly think Leon has just as much right of being that number 3 team among the other 4 because he's been just tearing it up of late. So
yeah, been super hot. He's his last 3 games scoring the most in the league, 124.95 points per game. That's 15 more compared to his previous 4. He's been scoring over 100 pretty much every week. Mortel's team 123.5 over the last 3 games, so right up there. Hanrahan, your team, both over 120. Laska's team had some monster weeks back in week 9, 10, 11, a little bit more down to earth, 12, 13, pretty nice week 14. So plenty of firepower in the brackets here. So a lot to get excited about.
I think we have the top 6 scoring teams.
Yeah, I think the right people are here, right? I don't think anyone necessarily got snubbed. There was obviously some injuries and people traded some stuff away, but the way things finalized here, we're going to have some good teams going head to head.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you kind of go take a look at the bracket. I got to step aside for just a minute here, so I'll be right back.
Sounds good. This is a good time to break in our sponsor here. It is only 4:18 but it is a Thursday, so Miller Lite, thank you. We're going to crack into this bad boy here. That's good for the soul. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at big matchup here. Old football teammates turned rivals in 2023 fantasy football. The reigning Empire Pot, Dr. Clark, 9-5 record versus Mortel, one of the best teams in the league all year long. I believe they finished up as number 1 in our previous power ranking. So this is a fun matchup. Taking a look here, they did play each other back in week 9. Leon got the edge 104-80. So some of their more low-scoring games of the year, it looks like. So I'm expecting things to be a little bit more high-scoring this time.
So I'm on baby duty right now, and she's just not cooperating. So I'm going to be in and out here. Sorry, boys, but Tlougan's got you covered here for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get you dialed in. So you get a pretty fun matchup at quarterback here. You got Josh Allen on one side with Mortel, and then you got Dak Prescott on the other, who's just been on fire, by the way, in case you forgot. Like, this guy has just been putting up points. So he's got a matchup against Josh Allen, against Buffalo, so that's super exciting. Be fun to watch for both those guys. But as far as who has the edge, I got to just give that a wash. I mean, they're both projected right around 21, 22 points. So not much moving the needle there for me. Taking a look at running backs. So we have Mortel with Bijan Robinson, who has really kind of finally come around and is getting the usage that we all hoped he would. You know, basically starting week 10 against Arizona, then had the bye, but scoring almost double-digit points since then. Jets are a really tough matchup there, but Carolina certainly beatable for Bijan. They should be favored there, so he should get a lot of work. Really like that matchup. And then Eckler, it's kind of tough to say because they lost their quarterback. Their offense hasn't been that great. Like, Eckler's kind of struggled. Had 3 bad games in a row until the Denver game. Vegas, they give it up a little bit. So on the other end, DeAndre Swift started the year super hot. Hasn't really done much since. 8 points, 3 points, 3 points. Play Seattle, so somewhat favorable matchup, but just the usage there and the trend is not the best. And then you have a guy like Tony Pollard who's kind of the opposite, right? So you kind of compare him to Bijan Robinson and his trajectory. Now Pollard's kind of there. So again, kind of a wash for running backs, in my opinion. Welcome back, baby. Hey, baby.
Back and yeah, heard you talking about kind of breaking down the matchups. Yeah, I mean, 2 elite quarterbacks. Kind of 2 interesting dynamics of running backs because you got Swift, who's kind of been on the decline, Pollard on the incline, and then Bijan's kind of on the incline. Eckler was on the decline, had a good week last week, but like you were mentioned, just have no idea what he's going to do with Herbert and whatnot. But then you have ETN versus Ford there. Those are both in the flex spots. ETN's been pretty good for Jacksonville. Leon knows this too well because he was a key cog in his championship run for him last year. Just pretty solid. He had some monster games there in the middle. Kind of been dinged up a little bit. Has a very tough matchup though.
Yeah, Baltimore's not fun. I mean, at Cleveland, not a great matchup either. He's put up 15 points, so he's talented enough to make something happen there. Jerome Ford on the other side, been solid, not great. Getting you close to 10, 12 points a game, you'll take that. I would probably expect about the same thing against Chicago, whose defense is actually playing a little bit better now. But I think the key here really comes down to the receivers and their performance. For one, Tyreek Hill, Mortel just needs him to play, right? Got kind of banged up last game, had basically his worst game of the year because he was in and out. Jets can't really run on them, but you can throw on them a little bit. So I'm not super afraid of the matchup. I'm just afraid that they might sit him. Maybe he won't play because they're got a good record, playoffs.
Yeah, I think
That's a huge key for me.
yeah, I think had Miami won last week, they'd be in a different light. But since they lost, they're not. They're really in the thick of that shooting race. So my guess is he'll
Nothing's
play.
locked up. Yeah.
It's one of those things where how healthy is he? Obviously, when fully healthy, there's not a more dangerous player in fantasy football. But if he's 80%, still very good.
Yep.
And you got Garrett Wilson, who it's like is the Zach Wilson of last week going to play? Because he just kind of has some duds, and part of that's just because of his quarterback play. Very talented receiver. So it goes there, and then obviously his last receiver is Justin Jefferson. Once again, he's expected to play. Had that chest injury last week, going against a pretty defense that gives up some points and big plays. But he also doesn't have Kirk Cousins, so we still haven't really seen what he is like without Kirk. So a couple question marks there, but when fully healthy, just absolute studs. And on the other side, you kind of have some guys that are basically mirroring what Leon has done. I mean, you look at Olave, pretty consistent. Uh, he had some slow weeks there. He's been questionable, I feel like, every week.
Right.
Continues to play and has a Philly defense that's shown to be vulnerable.
This is DK Metcalf now. He's got Philly this week and had that monster game week 13 against Dallas. Got another touchdown against San Francisco. So he's coming around, treading the right direction here for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like his kind of rise back to being, because for a while there, he was absolutely terrible. And for where Leon took him, he was like in the top, he was in like the 40s for positional rank. And he was a guy taken in that first or second round right at the turn. Now he's starting to play and produce like that guy. Does Geno Smith play? Is it Drew Lock? That'll be an interesting
right
to watch too.
Cooper Kupp had a big week against Baltimore last week. Gets Washington. Stafford has been on a roll, so you got to like that if you're Leon. That's a big factor. Kupp's, if he goes out there and produces, like then this lineup looks a little bit more full. And not to mention, Evan Ingram at tight end had a couple nice games in a row. Got TJ Hawkinson on the other end, who we've been watching as Vikings fans with Dobbs throwing him the ball, a little inconsistent. Maybe with Mullins a little bit better here. Maybe a big game from Hawk coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just look at these two teams on paper, you'd probably give the edge to to Mortel. But just based on health and uncertainty and some matchups there, because you have Eckler with the quarterback out, Hawkinson and Jefferson with the quarterback out, Jefferson coming back from injury, Tyreek Hill battling injury. Going with the Vikings D against Cincinnati. I mean, he's very heavily Vikings. The Vikings D's been very good, but we'll see how that turns out. I mean, Jake Browning's looked decent for Cincinnati, but
yeah.
So I think if you look at it on paper and all the teams were healthy, you give the edge to Mortel, but because they're not healthy, and then Leon has guys that are kind of peaking at the right time, it just makes this matchup really, really interesting. And we have some predictions up later in the show, and you'll kind of see that there wasn't a consensus among the voters.
Yeah, some fun matchups too. Like their quarterbacks play each other, their defenses play each other, right? So, that Vikings Cincinnati game will be a big one for this matchup for sure. So we'll show all predictions at the end, yeah?
Yeah, predictions at the end. We'll look at the next matchup here. Assuming those are their starting lineups, obviously we'll monitor for maybe some last minute changes. Maybe there's some, but should be a good one. And then we move down to the 3-6 matchup. Hanrahan, who's done solid all year long, has kind of leaned on that San Francisco 49er offense, and they've done very well for him. Versus Jenny, who at the first half of the season there wasn't a better team, and then he just ran into this buzzsaw of unluckiness, I think, because he's still like the highest.
He's still scoring, yeah.
So
It's just
another interesting matchup, obviously, as you can see, Hanrahan's he's beaten him twice. One of those is kind of a tough. I mean, the first one, week one, pretty good win for Hanrahan, solid. But that next one, like you're scoring 124 points, you're expecting to win that matchup, and that's kind of been the epitome of the second half of the season for Jenny is scoring and then just running into buzzsaws every single week.
Yeah, right. I want to look real quick at my yeah, so Jenny, according to wins versus the median score each week, he should have 12 wins as well. So yeah, definitely some bad luck there for him. Yeah, so matchup wise, starting with the quarterback position, Matthew Stafford had a bit of a roller coaster of a year. Well, I mean, just consistent at the beginning. Got a little bit injured, banged up, missed a game, had a bye. But the last three, man, look at those. Cleveland, Baltimore, those are some tough defense, and he's been slinging, and now he's got Washington at home. Gotta like that.
Yeah, good matchup there. That's kind of the interesting part of this matchup is I think both of them had their starting quarterback go out for the year.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. And then when you look at the quarterback waiver wire, all the quarterback injuries, there's not a lot out there. So good on Jenny to get Stafford. I know Laska had texted me earlier in the week. He's like, do you think Hanahan puts in a $12 offer for Stafford to block Jenny from getting it? Obviously didn't. And Jenny's probably thankful he didn't because otherwise he'd have to go with like a Joe Flacco or something like that. And then, on the other side for Hanahan, he's got Jordan Love, who for a few weeks there looked unbelievable and then showed some of that inconsistencies you're going to see in a young quarterback last week.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's not I wouldn't say it's kind of a middle of the pack matchup. Like they still have some dudes on that defense, but they're not as formidable as they used to be. I think that matchup right there could be a deciding factor. If one of those quarterbacks, if one of them goes to 24 points, the other one's, at 15, 16 range where they had been, prior to some hot streaks. I mean, that 9-point swing could be huge.
Yeah, it's a big factor for sure. Starting to look at the running backs, unfortunately here, as good as Mostert's been, pretty much no one is able to run on the Jets. Except for him in week 12, he scored 21 points. So I take that back. But in theory, it's a tough matchup. He had 2 touchdowns get that game, which certainly helps. We'll see if they can keep that going. But on paper, tough matchup. It's like Zach Moss, the thing now. Like he
been ruled out again, but it's kind of been funny because ripping it early in the year, and then you kind of see when Taylor came back. His numbers tailed off, and then when Taylor's been out these last, I don't know if it's been 2 weeks now, or 3 weeks. I think it's been at least a couple, but Moss really hasn't looked like his old self. So it's going to be obviously Jenny's hoping for that, week 2, week 3, week 4 early season Zach Moss. Hanahan's hoping it's been more of the latter. Tough matchup against Pittsburgh, I think. I don't know how good they just normally have a good defense. But fortunately, it should be a close game, so he should be heavily used.
Right. Yeah. Interesting there. And then he has currently plugged in Derrick Henry. I think we've talked about this before. His playoff schedule is nice, and he's actually been on a bit of a roll here. He's traditionally played Houston very well. CJ Stroud in the concussion protocol, he doesn't play. That Houston offense is not going to be moving the ball, and it could be a big Derrick Henry game.
Yeah, I mean, last week, obviously a really bad average, but he finds the end zone twice. The week before that looked like vintage Derrick Henry. Last 2 weeks before that kind of looked like the king.
6 touchdowns in 3 games.
I think some of us were kind of scratching our heads at the trade, but obviously with Kenneth Walker getting hurt, it kind of worked out well for Jenny. And now that Henry, maybe he's peaking at the right time. Jenny needs it bad because his other running, the other running backs, well, one's been great all year, has a tough matchup, and the other one is Zach Moss. So we just
against Pittsburgh. Yeah. Where's Evan Hall? Is he available? He might be the guy we need.
Yeah, might need to call up 1-800-Mortel and
yeah, get some action going.
Then we look over at Hanrahan's running backs, and
yeah,
the key to this team and the key to any team that has him is Christian McCaffrey. He's his catalyst as he goes. The Niners offense kind of goes, and then when he gets going, it's been pretty remarkable to watch. But that opens the field up more for Ayuk and George Kittle, who he has on his roster. Obviously, seems like he scores a touchdown every single week. You kind of know what you're getting out of him, but that's where it kind of ends for Mr. Hanrahan in the running back room, which is unfortunate for him that he Josh
been such a strength all year with his running backs. But yeah, Stevenson out now. Josh Jacobs questionable here.
Yeah, I think I heard, and I haven't checked, but this morning I thought it was kind of leaning towards he wasn't going to be able to go tonight. That would obviously be a killer for Hanrahan, and hopefully he's moderately close
tonight.
Because you don't see that in time. Yeah, he's projected for 0 points, so ESPN's not expecting him to go. Does he make a lineup switch in time? We shall see. Maybe he.
Who does he got? He's got. He doesn't even have a running back.
Yeah, so he'll have to go super emergency, and interesting. That'll be interesting to watch. By the time tonight starts, to see it.
I didn't even really consider that when looking at this matchup. I mean, that's a big deal, for sure.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I didn't even think about Stevenson and Jacobs potentially both being out. That might have swayed me one way or the other. You'll have to see who I picked, but I might. But yeah, so running back health, big question mark there for Hanrahan. We'll move to the wide receivers. I'll have to break that down.
Yeah, so to couple up the Niners here, Ayuk and Kittle. Of course, Kittle's a tight end, but those guys have been pretty dang good. Ayuk super consistent against Arizona. Love that matchup. Hopkins kind of just up and down. Depends how they're feeling that day, but a couple decent games in a row here. Gets Houston. Should be able to score on them a little bit. We'll see if that'll be interesting for them to watch that. You got Derrick Henry on one side and Hopkins on the other. So you're kind of hoping for two different game scripts there. So really, to me, that depends on what Houston brings to the table, if their quarterback's going to start or not. Gabe Davis, Laska pointed this out in his prediction. Gabe the Babe been on a hell of a run here as far as goose eggs and decent games. So going back to week 8, 19 and then 0, 8.6 and then 0, 19.5, literally 0. He's playing in these games, dude. He's not hurt. He's in. He's just scoring 0 points. So do the math. Every other would be, he's going to get some points this week.
Should, yeah. That's incredible. And yeah, I mean, obviously, you're going for the boom, and when you have guys like McCaffrey, and obviously not have his running backs really hurts, because I think when you have that consistency in certain positions, you can afford to put that flyer out there. So we'll see if Gabe the Babe has one of his boom games or if he busts. But this is the next thing I want to talk about. He's been great the last few weeks. And that's kind of coincided.
Since Fields came back.
Fields coming back, and Chicago has found ways to just get him the ball. So yeah, I mean, I think DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Hopkins, I think those are all pretty solid options. But yeah, Gabe Davis, that is going to be a crazy one to watch, because he could go for 30 points, or like we've seen, he could just go for a straight up goose egg. And rough matchups actually for Hanrahan. It'll be, if Jacob suits up, that'd be humongous for him. If he doesn't, Jenny could be going against an 8-man team essentially with a. Yeah,
I mean, it's not like you're going to find someone on the waiver wire that's going to score 10 points. They might get 4 by accident, right? So definitely is going to be an advantage there. On the other side here, receiver-wise, like A.J. Brown had a couple stinkers here or there, but overall been really good. And by a couple, I mean like one in the last, handful of weeks.
Yeah, it's just like with him being so good, when he doesn't have a monster game, you think
Right, feels lower. Right,
then you look at his numbers like, oh, I mean, he's had
9 for 94.
one single digit performance in the last, like 10 weeks, and then they had that one against the Vikings randomly. But other than that, he's just not getting into the end zone as much. And if he finds the end zone here in a good matchup, that's I mean, there's a reason why he's number 4 wide receiver, and then Chase is going to play this week, number 5 wide out.
He can definitely blow up. I mean, the Vikings have been playing pretty decent defense, but he's more than capable. He'll probably have a little chip on his shoulder going against his bro JJ, wanting to outshine him and prove to the world that he's the dude. That's a Thursday standalone game at I think noon, which is interesting. And then Saturday standalone at noon. Yep. And then Sutton just scores touchdowns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the last 8 weeks he has a touchdown. Pretty damn good. 9 out of the last 11.
Yeah, he's been he's kind of just been their red zone. Like you said, he doesn't have a ton of receptions in that span.
Yeah, nothing over 20 points, but just nice.
That Russell Wilson likes to target when they get near the end zone, and so pretty good wide receivers for Jenny. I mean, you can kind of see why he was scoring so much.
Right, he's just good.
And then you get to the old tight ends, and you got the guy, Mr.
Kelsey.
Not
really having he's the number 1 tight end, but it doesn't really feel like he should be.
He just passed Hawkinson recently.
Okay.
And
Hawkinson slowed down.
I mean, Kelsey's, those last 4 weeks consistent. Obviously, he had that monster. He hasn't had a monster game since he's only had one really all year.
Yeah.
Against the Chargers, who just don't know how to cover him ever. Unfortunately, he doesn't play them until the fantasy season is over. But he's just consistent. You can probably pencil in 10 points, and if he finds the end zone, you have yourself a great week at tight end. And then Kittle's kind of, I feel like he's almost the opposite. I feel like he has a lot of boom games and then some kind of, you see what I'm saying? Like much more.
Yeah, I think he's been less volatile like this year, especially the second half of the season, but he's certainly capable. Like Arizona, they could be up by 21 in the first quarter and he could be without a catch and they don't even need him, right? So that's what you kind of worry about there with both him and Ayuk. So interesting matchup, especially with this running back situation, and then a couple tough matchups on Jenny's side of the coin there. But I think overall, you got to like the firepower better on that side, and of course, with Hanahan being down at running back, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, it's huge. Well, like I said, we'll get to the prediction things. My opinion might have swayed, but it's in ink, so I can't change it now. But
right.
I think Jenny's got to be considered. I think the previous matchup was a little more even. I think just based on injuries and whatnot, I think Jenny's got to be the favorite in this matchup.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's just take a quick peek at the people waiting on bye. Mr. Laska and Mr. Bauer. A lot of things that went well for them this year to put them here. So you get to kind of relax, kick the feet up, and hopefully none of your guys get hurt, right? That's what you're kind of watching for, not necessarily big points week, just everyone get healthy so I have them available for the next week. Like specifically for Laska, Mr. Keenan Allen missing this week, so he's hoping he gets to recover, come back healthy later in the season, week 16. But this team has been really driven by, combination of a few different things, but CeeDee Lamb been great. Kamara overall has been great. Just a lot of solid pieces on the squad.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much got RB1s and wide receiver ones throughout the lineup. He's got a QB, top 5 QB. Like I said, Gibbs, he's, technically an RB2, but that's with a really slow start. Had a couple booms there in the middle when Montgomery was kind of banged up. Slowed down a little since he's come back, but still a very electric player. Obviously, having the bye week is nice with Keenan Allen because, doesn't have to start Najee Harris then. He's got, depth. This is the one lineup, one of It's just been solid all year. He didn't have to make any trades because he already had a great team. That makes him dangerous because he's not only got a great team, but if he goes on to win the playoffs, didn't have to give up any picks to win a championship, could be a big threat to the Empire Pot next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what he did that in the past too, right? Put himself in good position the year before, good keeper value, no trades, made it to the championship, and came up a little bit short against Kelly 4 or 5 years ago. So definitely in a good position there. And then you.
Then we go look at me. My team is, we've been pretty solid all year. I had obviously a dud last week. Got very fortunate that Losses had a bigger dud, but my team's kind of been, like I said, we're not the most explosive group, but I think we rise to the occasion when we play the other playoff teams. I think
God, yeah.
pretty sure I think Leon's the only one of them that's beaten me. I think
You just lose. You lose to the turds like me.
I lose to you,
and Broik.
and I lost to Leon, and I want to say I lost to JP.
You got a couple Cardinals on your team.
Yeah, and so
that's fine. McBride's been good though.
It's huge for me to get the bye because Jonathan Taylor's out. Maybe he's back next week. That's kind of what they projected return was. So that'd be nice. James Conner has a matchup against the Niners this week. That's not a good matchup for him. And he hasn't been anything. He had a big game against Pittsburgh, but for a while there, he was kind of snorkely.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's been. But the key for me is obviously Jalen Hurts has been outstanding. A dud last week, but he's been great. And then he's been, Goddard's back, which
you get Giants and then Arizona for the playoff run there.
He's got some good matchups there. Dave Montgomery's been great. Average wise, he is a RB1. Probably one of my best draft picks. I'll get to my absolute best draft pick in a little bit. Chuba Hubbard's been coming on of late because all Carolina's trying to do is run. So he's been pretty solid. So that gives me another option.
Nice.
Javonte Williams out of my flex has kind of become the main running back in Denver. They still split it up. He's kind of, if you're looking for a safer play, he'll get you 5-6 points. Maybe he finds the end zone, but consistent. And then it comes down to my wide receivers. Mike Evans has been a home run. I think he was like a 5th round pick. And obviously a stinker last week, but look at those 6-7 weeks before that. It was just a machine.
Right.
And then Devonta Smith has been big because especially the few weeks before last week, because when Dallas Goedert goes out for whatever reason, Devonta Smith just becomes the guy for.
He goes Superman, what's up?
So that'll be interesting to watch. And then tight end, everyone makes fun of my mid tight ends, but they're kind of solid, and that's all I'm looking for out of the tight end is just someone who's not going to give me a goose egg. Ferguson's been solid. McBride's he has a lot more boom potential. So depending on my matchup that week, maybe that'll be an interesting and potential BQB situation.
You got to ride the turd into the playoffs, man. Turd Ferguson. I mean, you just got to do it.
And then I have just collected defenses here because
it's a good strategy. Yeah.
Trying to give myself some good matchups, and I got a couple good. It'll be interesting to see what I do, but I kind of have a nice backup for every position right now, so that's nice in case of injury. And learned my lesson the hard way last year. And for a team that I didn't think had a lot of depth at the beginning of the year, I feel like that's one area I've gotten pretty decent.
Hell yeah.
Now we should move on to our Broik's obviously providing great content as always.
Yeah, we won't spoil this, but we'll go. Make sure everybody goes and reads this. If you don't know how, you go to League Home, and then you scroll down, and you go to Message Board. And Broik has all of his content here for us to read. Big time blunders, and then he has this nice little write-up here. So everyone, don't forget to check that out.
Yeah, But now let's move to the old predictions here.
Yeah, I'll get this pulled up.
I put a league manager poll out just to try to get people to vote for it too, just because I thought that'd just be the simplest way. 8 people voted, so for the 8 of you, thank you very much. I hope you do very well in the postseason. For the 4 of you that didn't vote, it takes 2 seconds. I'm kind of disappointed in you. So I think on the league manager poll, I think Alaska had 3 votes to win. Mortel had 2 votes to win. And then me, Jenny, and Leon each had 1. Hand in hand with the surprise, nobody voted for him. But obviously, looking at some of his injury situation, it makes a little more sense.
So we kind of go from top left prediction wise. So you see you kind of drew it out first matchup. So you predicted Mortel over Leon, and you predicted Hanrahan over Jenny. I think I did as well, Hanrahan over Jenny. So I think we both would probably go back and revamp that. Now looking at that matchup, but it's already in writing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So
one. I mean, that's everybody. Let's see. Everyone except for Costello took Hanrahan to win. So
and I'm guessing a lot of people probably didn't look to see like I did. I just like went off of the feel like Hanrahan's got great running backs. Like I felt like the 49ers were just going to carry him. But
nobody took Leon.
6 submissions on the prediction bracket. I'll create a little point system for this. Whoever wins, I got a $25 second swing gift card coming.
God dang, that's nice.
I went Mortel was my winner. I just think his team's going to be healthy enough, and he's just got so much high-end firepower. He's got good matchups, and he's going to want a little revenge on Mr. Alaska. I think that's going to be if that matchup happens, it's going to be really fun. But Mortel's got to get past Leon and end the Empire threat. Hanrahan, 5 out of the 6 of us had him in the semis. 3 of us had him in the championship. 3 of us had myself in the championship. Alaska was 3 times in the final.
3 times.
Mortel 3 times in the final. No Jenny or Leon in the championship, which is interesting.
Well, no one even picked Leon to exit the first round. Everyone's just like putting it into the universe.
Alaska and Lostness both picked Leon.
They did? Am I reading something wrong? Oh, he was up here. Okay, my bad. Sorry. I've been reading it wrong.
And then kind of similar to the league manager poll, Alaska, the most common champion. I got picked twice, Mortel once. So whoever voted for Mortel in the league manager poll, that's one of the people that did not submit picks. Or they changed their mind.
Yeah, right.
We also did a losers bracket winner.
Yes, we did. So Costello picked himself, of course.
Yeah, I like it.
Be bold.
We'll see, but you picked Lostness, as did Tlougan, as did
Broik.
Lostness picked you, so you two must be
we're in cahoots. Yeah, thanks, Lostness. Appreciate you. Hey, vote for me. Vote for Summer.
I both picked JP. Interestingly enough, I think you and Lostness were probably the highest scoring teams in the losers bracket, so that makes sense. JP was just a whim. I feel like his team. We've looked at his team all year and thought they should be better, and I think they're finally going to show up. But no Kelly, no Broik winners.
Well, why would anyone pick Broik to score the most points in that? He's out. Now, he'll probably surprise us. But don't forget that if you lose in the first round of the playoffs, you are still alive for the draft picks. And it's happened more than once. Last year, Costello broke into the top 4. I think the year before that, somebody, I don't know.
Someone's been caught every year. But and just a reminder for the losers bracket, it's not an actual bracket. It's a 3-week competition. Total points at the end of the 3 weeks, wherever you finish in that is where you will pick in the first round. And then obviously, like Brandon mentioned, the 2 teams that lose in the first round of the winners bracket get a chance to have 2 weeks to go catch everyone else, as many people as they can, and move their way up. Good way to make make a little competition down there and to, not completely reward tanking, even though you got more picks, but it's good.
Well said, Bao. Well said. So, well, anything else to add before we wrap up?
No, it's just, a good luck to everyone this week. I hope we have like a record-setting week in points. Hope we have some crazy playoff matchups. I want some smack talk. I mean, if me and Broik have to do all the shit talking, then
You're not even playing.
We're not even playing in the matchups. I'm gonna be very disappointed. Like, Leon, I need you to call your shot, man. Like, I'm taking Mortel down, I'm taking Laska down, and I'm taking whoever else down, and then I'm taking the $1,200, and you guys who traded draft picks can suck it. I want some talk. It's time.
It's time. It's now or never, baby. So let's get it rolling. Yeah, I'll echo that. Good luck, everyone. Hope your team stay healthy. It's always shitty if the season ends with an injury and he gets 2 points because he went out in the first quarter. So fingers crossed it doesn't happen.
And as always, go Vikes.
Let's go Vikes. All right.
See you,
Take
boys.
it easy.